This lesson introduces you to the use of the part of speech, the participle. Participles are basically identified as verbal adjectives. In English, these are words that end in ing. So, I saw the walking man. Walking modifies man, so it is a participle, or it's an adjective, but it's also a verb. That is, to walk is a verb. So a participle is an adjective that is created out of a verb. And this is exactly how we're going to do it in Latin. We're going to add a adjectival ending onto a verb. And we'll find that participles come in three different tenses: present, future, and perfect. And also that they can be active or passive. But there are some catches. So the first of the participles you're going to run into is the present active participle. You form the present active participle by adding ns, or in the genitive, ntis, to the present stem. Right now, in Moreland and Fleischer, you're going to only run into the ns form, the nominative, singular, masculine, feminine, and neuter. So imperans, commanding, is masculine, feminine, and neuter, but only nominative singular. We'll talk about declining this adjective in a later chapter. But you translate it like we would ing. So we take our present stem, impera, and add ns, imperans, commanding. Second conjugation, debe, to o, add the ns, debens, owing. Canens, all right, so watch this. This is a third conjugation. The third conjugation, we're going to take the e from that stem and add ns, so canens, singing. Or third ios, interfici, add ns, so interficiens, killing. And fourth conjugation, audie, ins, singing. So note with third and fourth conjugations that the e is in each of these: canens, interficiens, and audiens. The one you may not expect it in is the fourth conjugation. And the present active participle describes an action which takes place at the same time as the main verb. This is very important. Remember, these are adjectives. These are not main verbs. So in that example sentence I gave you, I saw the walking man. The man is walking at the same time as I saw him. And the Latin present active participle can be translated in a number of different ways. We can just use this simple ing ending, right? So walking. Or we could translate the same sentence, I saw the man while walking. Now, because in this sentence, walking is modifying man, there's no ambiguity. It wasn't I that was walking, it was the man that was walking. So I saw the man while walking, or while he was walking. Less sensical in our example, but you can also give it a causal sense. So I saw the man since he was walking. Or I saw the man when, or here the while, when he was walking. A temporal sense. So we can give it a causal sense, the sense, or because. We can give it a temporal sense. We can give it an adversative. That is, although he was walking. Although he was walking, I saw the man walk. I saw him. Or we can even do it as a condition. So we can give it a conditional sense. If the man is walking, I saw him. And what's important is that these INGs, these are all English participles, but we can translate this as a finite verb in a relative or subordinate clause. So I could say, I saw the man when he is walking, or I see the man when he is walking, or If the man is walking, I see him, or I see the man who is walking. So there, we're translating all of these as finite verbs in a relative or subordinate clause. So there's really very many ways that you can address the present active participle and all participles in general in Latin. So let's take a look at some examples. Villa ardens in ruinam ruit. The villa burning, so here's our ns, there's our ing, from ardeo, to burn. So the villa, while burning, because it was burning, since it was burning, the villa ardens fell into ruin. However you translate it, you should recognize that ardens is modifying villa here, and that it is a present participle, so it is going on at the same time as this verb, ruit, it fell. Magister dona servis dans imperavit. So dans, there's our participle, masculine nominative singular, so that's modifying magister, and it's a verb, so it can do things like have direct objects. So the master giving gifts to the slaves commanded blah blah blah. Magister dona servis dans, the master giving gifts to the slaves. And here we could translate the master, although he was giving gifts to the slaves, the master while giving gifts to the slaves, the master who is giving gifts to the slaves, the master if he gives gifts to the slaves. All of these are considered legitimate translations, and you just need to use context. Turba invadens armadelewit. The crowd, the invading crowd. There's our participle invadens, modifying turba. So the invading crowd destroyed the arms. And then finally, poeta vivens cecinit. Here's our participle modifying poeta. The living poet sang. Poeta vivens could be the poet while he lives, the poet because he lives, the poet if he lives, if he lived, sang. All of these, again, it depends on the context in which you find the participle. So that's the present